Hello again, everybody. Back for another lesson. We're going to look at the third shape out of three. Only three shapes in the tuning, or in any tuning really. In this case, it's open G tuning, and we've covered the first shape, the second shape, and the third shape. And these shapes have names, and I'll expand on that at some later point. But for right now, shape 1, 2, 3 is fine. And we've looked at shape 1 and 2, so let's figure out shape 3. As I indicated in the previous video, each one of these shapes has the root on a different string. So by knowing these three different shapes, whatever tone you have on a particular string, you can find that a major chord associated with it. So the shape 2, and just looking at G chords, we found at the 5th fret of the 4th string, the 4th fret of the 3rd string, the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and the 5th fret of the 1st string. And as a reminder, the tone order for those was 1, 3, 5, 1. The open chord is 5, 1, 3, 5. And shape 2, it's 1, 3, 5, 1. All right, so how do we find the third shape? Well, we can do it the same way that we did the second shape, counting up the scale tones and figuring out where the next position should be. So we know we've got 1, 3, 5, 1 in this shape. So on that 4th string, we've got a 1 in this shape. So let's figure out where we're going to be looking. The next closest one is a 3 tone, right? So 1, up a whole step to 2, and up a whole step to 3. So this is one of your notes in the chord at the 9th fret of the 4th string. Okay, so your 3 tone is the same as the 3 tone on the 4th string, right? Okay, so from the 3 on the 3rd string, the next tone for our major chord, our G major chord, is going to be that 5 tone, right? So that 3, and then up a half step to 4, and then up a whole step to 5. So your 5 tone is on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, okay? And that's the same tone that the 1st string is open. Okay, so we've got the 3 tone on the 9th fret of the 4th string, and the 5 tone on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Okay, so on our 2nd string, we had our 5 tone on the 3rd fret. So the next tone in our G major chord would be the 1 tone, right? So the 5 tone, up a whole step to 6, up a whole step to 7, and then up a half step to 1. So there's your 1 tone, right? It's on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. So now we've got the 3 tone on the 9th fret of the 4th string, the 5 tone on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, the 1 tone on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and remember, the 4th and 1st strings are the same, right? They're just duplicates. So if our 3 tone is on the 9th fret of the 4th string, then it's also on the 9th fret of the 1st string. So that tone order ends up being 3, 5, 1, 3. Okay, so this is kind of a weird chord, right? The point of these is not necessarily to play full chords. Again, you can, and there's uses for that. But the main point is to understand where it is, what it looks like, and how the scale tones are arranged around it. And then some other, more advanced concepts like how they tie together with the other chords in the key. But for right now, we're just trying to identify these tones that make the major chord. So with these 3 shapes, I've just shown you the G major chord, which is the root of this key, in 3 different positions on the neck. And since you know the tone order, you can find the scale around it. So 5, 1, 3, 5 for your shape, first shape, it's that open G. 1, 3, 5, 1 for the shape 2, that's up at the 5th fret. And then 3, 5, 1, 3. So by knowing this shape, you know that the root, the 1, is on the 2nd string, and that means, and we know that this is a major chord, so that means that for any tone on the 2nd string, if you form this chord around it, you're going to be playing the major chord for that, whatever that tone is. Just the same as with your shape 2, the root is on the 4th string or the 1st, and whatever tone you choose on the 4th string, you can form this same shape and be playing a major chord for that tone. Don't even need to know what it is. It's useful to know what it is because that helps you within the context of G. You know, not all 12 of the chromatic tones are in the key of G, right? So, but that's the 3 shapes. And since you know 3, 5, 1, 3 in this shape, then, and you know what strings those are on, you can find the scale tones around it. So this is a 3 on the 4th and the 1st string, so you know a 4 is a half step up. That's your 4 tone. You know your 5 is on that 7th fret of the 3rd string, so your 6 is a whole step up from that on the 3rd string. So this won't come, you know, immediately, but the more you look at it this way, the more natural this will seem, and the easier it'll be to find these tones. But just first off, by knowing the 3 shapes and where they are for a G chord, you know where all the G's are up and down the fretboard, right? Your open 3rd string, your 5th fret on the 4th string and the 1st string, your 8th fret on the 2nd string, you know. It all repeats up here at the octave on the 12th fret, so you're back to this bar chord shape 1 at the octave. That means that this is a G, you know. 5 frets up from that is your shape 2. This is also a G chord, and that's shape 2. And you know how the scale is arranged around it because it's 1, 3, 5, 1, right? So that's just kind of hinting at the possibilities of understanding the usefulness of navigating the fretboard using these chord shapes as a navigational tool. You know, it's not really about playing the full chord. That's kind of weird and awkward in some of these. I mean, this shape 3 is not the most convenient chord, you know, although the bluegrassers would beg to differ. I mean, they play out of these shapes constantly and melodically and beautifully, you know. It's all a matter of what your priorities are and what you want to get used to. But a key piece in terms of knowledge is just understanding how the tones are arranged in these chords so that you can find the other notes in the scale around it. So that's probably enough for the 3 shapes, and I think for the next video I'll probably start talking about some of the useful benefits of understanding these 3 shapes, like how are the other chords linked to it, how can you take a piece of music that you know up here at the top of the, you know, up the neck near the nut, Cripple Creek or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and just by understanding what scale tones you're using in those songs, you can then move that up the neck out of a different chord shape because you now understand where the scale tones are around the chord shape. So that's basically how it's done. So I hope you're looking forward to that, and when I have some more free time, I'll start exploring that with you. All right, cheers.